Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here today with Jacqueline Leibel-Cote, who's the president and CEO of Collette. And we've talked to Jackie before, and we wanted to get an update on what's going on with Collette today and all the places that it goes and all the different travel advisor programs that they've been putting out. And they've been doing quite a lot this past year. And if you've been reading Insider Travel Report, we have probably some news on Collette almost every other day. So they've been very active in the market. So we're going to talk to Jackie about all that and a whole lot more, plus a recent trip she just took and you'll hear about that on Insider Travel Report. Now, Jackie, first of all, you've been president and CEO of Collette since I think October 2023.
Yeah.
Uh, how have you been focused? What have you been focusing on, and what have you changed, if anything?
Yeah, it's been great. Happy New Year. Thank you for having me. It's always great to see you. Yeah, it's time goes really fast. It's yeah, October 2023, so almost a year and a half in the role. Focused on really, small group explorations is a laser focus for me, but also just continuing to improve the guided touring experience and make sure that we're staying relevant and that we're changing with the expectations of the travelers and making sure that we're providing the best customer experience we possibly can for the travelers and for the travel advisors that are supporting us, so that they have confidence in the product that we're putting out into market, right? So, because 100% of what we do is focus on improving the guided touring experience. As
Right.
a company, strategically, we've chosen not to own river cruise or hotels or motor coaches or anything over the decades, but really making sure that we are laser focused on listening to the travelers and improving the guided tour experience is really a focus that I've been really leaning into even before October of 2023, quite honestly. Same thing with small group explorations. It's just continuing to move that vision forward for the organization and
No,
for
and
our partners.
absolutely, and guided is where it's at for Collette. Now, where does Collette go today? Or perhaps the better question is, where don't you go? Because you go to a lot of places in the world.
We do. Yeah, so we do touch all seven continents. We have tours to all seven continents, and obviously including Antarctica. But where we haven't gone, but we're actually launching in 2025. We're breaking new ground, really excited. But what our travelers were telling us is that they wanted to explore Albania and parts of those regions. So we have
Wow, Albania,
I know I'm gonna have to get there. I haven't been there yet. But we have the Balkans, so our coastal Croatia to the legendary Greece tour that's coming out. So always open and continuing to research new destinations. Definitely what our travelers are telling us, what our partners are telling us, what are people asking for when they're shopping, and what is piquing their interest, and do we have tours to those regions, and if we don't, what's the demand and how can we make sure that we develop really great product. But of course, always, the Icelands, the Irelands, the Italys, South
yeah.
Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, South America, Africa. Again, I know we're going to get into that
We're
a
gonna
little
get to
bit.
Africa, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get to Africa, but a lot don't know that we've been doing Africa for over 3 decades. So we do have a breadth of product across the globe, which is great. A little something for everyone.
Absolutely. No, you definitely have such a range of product and you do offer cruises through the vendors that you choose to affiliate with, obviously in Antarctica and things like that. So you may not own the ships, but you're putting your groups on them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And even in Africa, we have one of our newer tours that does safari, and it does it by land and by sea. Patagonia, again, there's a few days that we're on sea, land and sea. So there's a combination because we know that travelers are looking for that. And so again, Alaska, you're going to have a cruise product to Alaska. So again, there's a land piece, and then there's the cruise option. So of course, throughout the globe and where it's more mainstream, we're going to make sure that we have a presence and that we have a product offering for those that want the combination.
Absolutely. Now, as you mentioned earlier, I've always known Colette as kind of the quintessential escorted or guided tour operation.
Mhm.
But as you mentioned, you were really changing that kind of aspect with your small explorations product and other products. Talk a little bit about the different kinds of guided tour products you have today.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure there was an effort actually even before the pandemic for us to expand the portfolio of the small group explorations. We established that product line back in 2008. And so we're well versed in small group guided travel, how that needs to look and feel different than the classic touring experience. Because we don't just take classic tour product and bring it down in size, but do all the same things that you would do on classic. That's not the reason for small group travel. You can actually choose and curate the tour around a smaller group. So wineries that you can go to can be much different. You know, your choices for where we can stay, hotels that we can use. We can go into some of these smaller, more unique places and design the tours around an actual small group experience. But we have, great new tour products on explorations. Like I said, we've really expanded that portfolio starting in 2020. So we still continue to double down doing that throughout the pandemic, and it's paid dividends, quite honestly. I think there was definitely post-pandemic, the idea of smaller groups had a different ring to it, I would say, than maybe it did prior to the pandemic. But we
Right.
have our Gems of Greece tour. Again, that's not going to be what you're getting on the Greece Island Hopper, tour that we have on the classic product side. We're going to curate that definitely a lot differently because we have a design team in destination. So, looking for different unique spots across all of these great regions, Portugal, Italy, we have small group products. So there, again, there's something for everyone in the main destinations throughout Europe, but really throughout the globe. Even our Australia, New Zealand, we have great product that in itineraries that we've had for decades, but the small group explorations to Australia, New Zealand is really growing and doing really well. So it's great. And of course, with small group, there's a premium to it. But if that's what a traveler is looking for, they're willing to pay that premium
Sure.
for a smaller group experience.
Now, for you, a small group or your explorations product is roughly how many people?
So average is going to be about 18. It can in throughout the Europes of the world, it can be up to 24 travelers. But in some of the places like the Asias of the world or some of those destinations, it would be a max of 18. So it just depends.
Versus the classic product, which is more like how many people fit in an average motor coach, right?
Up to 40, yeah, for the
Yeah,
classic product,
right.
which again is the average, let's say 34 to 36.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Albania, new destinations. You're increasing your explorations product. Is there anything new that you're going to be offering in the next year or even into 26 in terms of products? And is that changing the brand a bit for you?
I wouldn't say it's changing the brand, is it's expanding the offering, I think.
Right.
Namibia and South Africa is one that's going to be coming online in 2025. We've had this in years past, but Charms of Quebec. So we're going to have a small group explorations that's going to focus just on Quebec. And I don't know if you've ever been to Quebec City. I'm sure you have because you're very well traveled, as
Well,
we were
not
just
not not
talking about.
not recently, not recently, and it is an incredible city. And if you're
It's
just going to do a focus on that, that would be cool.
Yeah, it's really going to be a great one. Quebec City is probably my favorite city in all of North America. I just think it really has that European feel. And if you haven't been, you might not really know that about Quebec, but there's so much to see just in the Charlevoix region,
Mhm.
and Quebec City itself. And again, it has those cobblestone streets, so that very European feel without having to go over the water to actually travel all the way to Europe per se. So some really great new offerings coming in 25, and the team right now is working on 2026. We start planning. We're actually probably going to be starting to talk 2027 within the end of Q1 of this year, and then we really get into planning for 2027 in Q2,
Right.
because that's how far out the design team and the research team and the global contracting team have to work. So we're always dealing with multiple years at once and making sure again that we're constantly listening to feedback from the travelers and expanding the brand standards and improving excellence and all of that.
Well, part of that is also you are really venturing more in, you already are in premium tours, but you're expanding that category. And can you elaborate what you've developed in your premium tour category?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's such a it can be such a copycat industry or space, if you will, within the guided travel space. Someone can have an itinerary, and then others can, in some way, shape, or form, try to take that and make it their own. But what we really focus on is to really say that we're a premium tour operator. It's very hard sometimes for travel advisors to really understand the difference between who Collette is and who other tour guided tour companies are. But we make sure that we're constantly, like I said earlier, listening. There's a feedback loop that's constant between our travelers and our travel partners. So the advisors, we have different advisory groups. So we're constantly listening to what's changing in their world that we
Mhm.
can help improve or make easier. But looking at, to be able to say we're premium, it means that we have our, the money back travel protection. I mean, we did that through 9/11. We did it when Israel happened in October of 2023, obviously during the pandemic. So, the travel back, the money back, sorry, travel protection plan, the private chauffeur service that takes you to and from your home to the airport so that there's, again, one less thing that people and travelers need to be thinking about. And just really that whole experience across the itinerary and the destination that the traveler will experience, but all of the other things that make Collette unique in the market.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that makes Colette unique in the market, and you just mentioned it earlier, is you have been going to Africa for some time, and you just got back from, I guess, one of your tours that goes to Kenya and Tanzania. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Oh my gosh, James, we could have talked about this the whole time. Yeah, I left with the family December 26th and we came back. The kids missed just a couple of days of school. Coming back, we got back January 8th, but it was just the trip of a lifetime. We started in Nairobi, in Kenya, did Amboseli National Park, saw lots of elephants and the animals there. A Maasai village we visited. It was just wonderful, and that was sort of I think the beginning to see it through my kids' eyes. My boys are 14 and my daughter's 12. So it was a
Right.
perfect age for them to go and experience Africa, and have an appreciation for where they were, what they were experiencing. And then we went to Tanzania. So I had been to Africa. Sorry, I had been to Kenya in 2007. I had not done Tanzania at the time.
Mhm.
Tanzania was breathtaking. It really just was unexpected for me to for everything that we saw, but just the scenery, the rolling hills,
Right.
driving in the streets. And then we went into the Serengeti. And so again, this is late December, early January, so migration was happening. So that was amazing. Just lots of zebras, lots of I mean, we saw the big fives. We saw all of them.
Yeah.
So we got really lucky. And we did 3 nights in the Serengeti in the tented camp, which was amazing. Just a great experience overall. You definitely don't want to be sleepwalking at night and leave your tent.
So,
um,
so you were happy with the tour this is one of your tours, right? So you had
yes,
a chance
yes.
to experience it, right?
Yes, it was amazing. We did have to just cut a couple days because the kids couldn't miss too much school.
Oh,
But
oh, why? Yeah, let them. Who cares
they
about
missed
school when
three
you're in
days.
safari, right?
They were happy, but they have midterms this week, so we did have to
Okay.
get back. But also after we did the 3 nights in Serengeti, we went to Goragora crater, which was just unbelievable. That's where it's almost like being in it's not even a zoo's not the right way to say it because it's not what it is, but it's just the wildlife that lives in this crater was unbelievable. And yeah, it was just an experience of a lifetime. But the view, if I said, I'll have to send you a picture of the Gorgora crater and the view that we had from the hotel, just overlooking it,
Oh, please do.
was
Yeah.
just panoramic. I mean, it was unbelievable and a vision that I'll be able to remember forever. But it was just wonderful. It was a great, and Arusha was, we stopped in Arusha before we went into the Serengeti, and then we flew out of. Um, Kilimanjaro Airport, so back into Arusha at the end of the trip, and it was just wonderful. I mean, to see the local villages and the markets taking place. It was just you got to be ready for a little off-roading for sure when you're in the Serengeti and on the roads in the national park. But that's all part of the safari experience. And my mother was with us, my husband's parents, my in-laws, and I had a
Wow, that's a group.
sister-in-law and husband and their two kids. So the other thing with safari is it's a great multi-gen travel destination because I mean, everyone was just, you could hear it when we were in the vehicles and you saw the lion for the first time, or even the fifth time, sixth time, 10th time. It doesn't matter. It's just absolutely amazing what you see and how you experience safari. And from my mother to Christian and I to my kids and my sister-in-law and everyone else, it was just an unbelievable experience. And to share it with others that you care about is,
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty special.
it is special. So you don't go by, oh, elephants. I've seen
No,
that.
ever. Because it's always different. Sometimes you'll see one, sometimes you'll see five. At one point, I have pictures where we couldn't even count how many elephants there were. There were probably well over 50,
Wow.
in one space at one time. So it's just, yeah, it's one for the record books for sure. It was,
Well, I'm glad you had a chance to experience your own tour and you liked it. That's
yes.
good. Now let's talk about that for a while, because obviously you're focused on guided travel, but and small group travel. Are you certainly you must be still seeing demand for that in the market, and I guess one of your roles is to keep on creating that demand and make sure people understand it, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, it's the beginning of the year, but we're 2020, what year are we in now? We're in
I
2025.
don't-
2024
How
was,
would how would you know? You've been off on safari.
I know. I have to remember where we are now. 24 was a record year with great growth and opportunities, continuing to expand, across the globe. And 25 is, trending to be a very strong year as well. So we're seeing guided travel really increase in demand. And I think there's a piece to it that, especially with small group explorations, I know a lot of advisors do a lot of FIT product
Right.
for travelers, but that's really where I think just partnering with our advisors, small group explorations can really be a great fit to replace some of that FIT business because it is curated in such a way that's unique. But gives you a lot of these amazing experiences that travelers are looking for when they're going to these destinations. And again, it's just really, we have to be ahead. Like I just said, we're going to get ready to talk about
Right.
2027. And knowing what the travelers will expect in that time, in 2 years, what will they want from the travel experience? So really making sure, again, feedback loop is hugely important. I know I've said it, I can't say it enough because just listening to the travelers and to the partners is what moves us forward and carves our path for directionally where we have to go to make sure that we stay relevant in the way that we're designing our brand standards and our expectations. But we're seeing great growth, and again, Europe always just really tends to be a sought after place for
Sure.
travelers. But we're really seeing it expand across everything. So there still is that, I want to call it the post-pandemic want to travel and want for experiences, but we haven't seen it soften too much either. So that's a good thing.
No, absolutely. And again, as you mentioned correctly, your small groups are a good way for, people who would think there's FIT customers to get involved in guided vacations as well. And today's guided vacations and guided tours are not yesterday's.
No, it's
It's
very
a very,
different.
very different experience, and
Yes.
it's actually a way to go. And I've tried to tell that to lots of people who are like, I don't want to go on a bus tour. And I said, it's not a bus tour.
Yeah.
Then you try to get that across to them. Of course, you didn't do any buses. Well, little buses maybe when you were in Africa, but not
We
too
did the
many.
Jeeps. Yeah, we have the Jeeps. So each Jeep sat six people. It was great because you can stand up and you can, so you get all the different angles, but it was a great way to travel. Yeah.
Now, I know you measure the impact your tours have in the places you travel to. Man. What kind of impact have you seen that you've had on those places? I know everyone is sustainability and giving back to the destinations you visit is really a great trend going on in the market. It has been for several years, but I know you guys do that as well, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we've had our corporate citizenship team in place for well over a decade, focused on different initiatives locally here by headquarters or in the states in which our employees, give back to as well, and then obviously globally. But first, we track, the number of travelers that we have going to each destination,
Right.
and there's obviously a lot of discussion around over tourism and working to spread that out and different seasonality. And so we continue to look at um, how can we support, I don't want to call it off season, it's just lower season travel
Right.
because the Europes of the world. I was in Portugal in March and it was unbelievable. You can sit outside, the weather is great. You have a little
Oh,
scarf
no, Port, that's a great time. Great
it's a
time.
great time and it's less crowded. And so I think it's just continuing to build awareness around destinations that you can travel to with less travelers. But we continue to focus on revenue generated for local businesses in the area that we travel to. I know we've talked about it before. We have a design team that lives in destination, that's doing the research and the curation of who are we working with. So making sure that we're supporting local businesses, whether it's local hotels, local restaurants. We don't want to eat in the hotels when we can
Right.
avoid it, so that we can be supporting more local businesses in the places that we're traveling to and making
Right.
sure that the money is staying within the community and not leaving the community. So there's a lot of research, and we actually on our corporate citizenship team we have three folks who work very closely with our product design team to help do some research around these organizations in destination to make sure that we're vetting them in all the right way. So there's a lot of collaboration and work that is going on behind the scenes to make sure that we're doing that. Um, so yeah, I mean, for sure, making sure that we're addressing all the things that we're hearing within travel, the travel space, of over tourism and all those things. We're just making sure that we're, staying on top of everything and that we're, you know, making sure that we're making the right decisions and the right steps. I mean, even um, we stopped doing Calgary Stampede, and that was a conscious decision that we had made years ago. Um, and of course it takes revenue off the books, but if it's not having a positive impact on the animals, then it made sense. So, making tough decisions too along the way, that maybe don't always get talked about, or maybe we don't even talk about it as much as we should. But doing things for the right reasons to support, um,
Well,
the
well,
places we
certainly
travel.
sustainability and over tourism. These were
Yeah,
you weren't at U.S. Tour Operators Association marketplace this year.
no,
You were off traveling, I believe, but
I
uh,
was.
but that those were some of the major themes that came out of that conference. As always, there's always been that theme, but
Yeah.
they're drilling down even harder now on addressing over tourism, addressing sustainability, addressing all of those kind of things. And I'm so glad to hear that you really are focused as a company on doing all those things.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And you have to. I mean, you can't be in the space and just take a brush across it and say, oh, I can check this off. I mean, there needs to be a dedicated team that really understands the language, understands, because it's a very broad topic depending on, you know, where you want to focus. But you look at the UN global impact, like you look at all of the areas that you can try to drive impact, um, and then you really have to take it down and prioritize things, as an organization. But you have to make sure that you have people in place who are staying abreast of all the things coming up, that we should be in the know about, or that we should be addressing. So it's better to be proactive than to be reactive, I guess is really what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Now, want to get to a final point. We have 128,000 travel advisors out there who read us and watch us. Um, I know that Collette is already very supportive of the travel advisor community. Can you tell us at least some of the more recent initiatives with advisors to help support them even more?
Yeah, and I think you sort of alluded to it in the intro as well. I mean, we did a lot of work in 2024 to support the advisor community. We launched a suite of tools. This includes My Collette. It's a self-service reservation management platform. So we never want to lose the relationship with the travel advisor, but if a travel advisor can go and have self-service tools to make their jobs easier and quicker and faster and more efficient, we're working to make sure that we can do that. There's a travel agent portal, so this is going to be full of different learning opportunities, marketing resources, virtual event information. We have the resource guide, the agent resource guide that we've had for many years, but it's 76 pages of full resources designed specifically for travel advisors. So it's not your typical brochure that's going to speak more to who the traveler might be. This is really to speak to the travel advisor and help them grow their business. With Collette and Collette University. So this is the learning platform that was launched as well. So really making sure that we have the new and relevant information in front of travel advisors, because like I said earlier, everyone's always working in multiple years at once. So making sure that advisors have all the right tools and all the right information on who Collette is and how to
Right.
work to grow the business is really what we're focused on supporting within the travel advisor area. And then we have the Travel Advisor Network. So it's a private Facebook page. It's got thousands of advisors. There's sales tips, there's tour insights. So there's a lot of collaboration and information sharing that takes place on that platform. So if you're an advisor and you're not a part of that, it's a great platform to share and to learn. So I would say connect to the Travel Advisor Network.
Absolutely. Now, in that vein, where can travel advisors specifically go to get more information about Collette? You mentioned obviously your website, which is
GoCollette.com and
gocollette.com, and then
forward
your
slash
the Facebook page,
the
and
Facebook page. And then you have GoCollette.com forward slash travel hyphen advisors. And that will take you can find out who your local BDM is. Again, there's marketing resources and stuff available there.
absolutely. Well, again, thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.